What we are going to unveil now is exclusive on front page. 18 months after buying Affinity, Canva has switched on the integration everyone's been waiting for. Starting today, Canva plus Affinity ships as a single end-to-end creative suite. Affinity's precision desktop apps for, vector, photo, and layout now sit inside Canva's real-time AI-powered collaboration fabric, and Affinity is available free to the entire Canva community. Clearly, it's a re-architecture of how pro design, collaboration, and distribution converge. For a decade, Canva won the everyone can design market with speed, templates, and multiplayer editing in the browser. Affinity won the pros who hate bloat market with blisteringly fast, color-accurate desktop tools like Designer, Photo, Publisher, a cult favorite amongst illustrators, brand studios, packaging shops, and publishers. By fusing the two, Canva isn't just moving up market, it's actually collapsing the wall between craft, which is pixel and vector level control, and scale, which is team workflows, approvals, brand systems, and distribution. Making Affinity free to Canva's 250 million plus monthly users is the tell. It supercharges top-of-funnel adoption among students, freelancers, and studios while pulling pros into Canva's revenue core, which is teams, brand systems, asset libraries, administration, SSO, governance, and storage. The value exchange is quite clear. Affinity remains the high-fidelity canvas. Canva becomes a distribution layer, and enterprise controls keep risk teams happy. This is also an offensive play against Adobe's Creative Cloud lock-in and Figma's collaboration moat. If Canva owns both creation and collaboration, it can actually price the platform, not the pixel, and win on total cost of ownership, velocity, and campaign performance, not just tool parity. The native handoff, no exports. Affinity files live in the Canva project graph with round-trip fidelity, CMYK/spot color, ICC profiles, vector paths, live text, styles, and linked assets retain intent from desktop to web and back. Print folks keep separations, trim/bleeds, and PDF/X discipline. Growth teams get instant variants and channels. Brand safe by default. Unity style brand governance, fonts, colors, tone guidelines, travels with doc. When a pro uploads a master, Canva enforces usage across downstream templates, social cuts, email modules, and landing pages with audit logs. AI where it helps, not where it hurts. Canva AI drafts copy, proposes layouts, builds story arcs for decks, and generates elements on demand without destructively touching color-critical or vector-precise layers unless, you ask it to. Video and code in the same stack. Short-form editors, Reels, Shorts, TikTok sit alongside publisher spreads and designer vectors. Canva Code 2.0 binds data, Canva Sheets, to creative output for live, data-driven campaigns and microsites. Enterprise-grade controls, SSO/SCIM, role-based permissions, usage analytics, content retention, data residency options, and legal holds cover the boxes procurement asks about before anyone signs a PO. Canva is now actually used by 250 million plus people every month across 190 countries, with 3.5 billion plus in, annualized revenue, 28 million paying subscribers, and 8 straight years of profitability, while serving 95% of the Fortune 500 and 70% of the Global 2000. Affinity brings millions of pro users and deep credibility in illustration, publishing, brand identity, packaging, and pre-press. Together, they form a barbell. Bottom-up virality plus top-down enterprise standardization. That's actually a rare combination, and exactly how category platforms are built. Adobe still dominates with, well, After Effects / Premiere for motion, Substance in 3D, and a sprawling plugin ecosystem. Figma still owns product design and component-driven UI systems. But in brand marketing, the work most companies actually ship daily across social, email, web, print, and sales, Canva just neutralized the "but we need desktop grade control" objection. If creative directors can keep, well, Affinity level quality while unlocking Canva level speed and governance, budget owners will ask a very blunt question, which is, why are we paying double for overlapping seats and endless file choreography? Marketing leaders don't just want beautiful comps. They actually want measurably better outcomes. That's the quiet superpower of Canva's stack. Creative Ops tracks asset lineage from Affinity Master to every market variant. Growth teams run ads via Canva Grow, closing the loop with in-product performance insights. Sales and field teams self-serve on brand collateral without creative bottlenecks. Compliance sees who touched what, when, and where it shipped, and can actually roll it back. Tie that to SLAs, content calendars, and localization at scale, and you get something Adobe has long promised but rarely unified. A creative system that runs the business, not just the artboard. Canva's upcoming Imagination Era drop rounds out the platform. AI-powered design and elements, tabs for instant layouting, and in context at Canva AI Teammate, video 2.0 for short form, email design with clean HTML export, forms that feed sheets, and personalized creative code 2.0 for data-bound experiences, and a rebuilt brand systems home. The through line, which is humans set vision, AI accelerates execution, governance keeps it safe, distribution measures impact. Affinity gives that philosophy a pro-grade engine. And joining us on this big announcement day is Ashley Hewson, CEO of Serif, the company behind the legendary Affinity Creative Suite, designer, photo, and publisher. Ashley has been the architect of one of the most fascinating stories in modern creative software. What started as a lean, high-performance desktop-first alternative to Adobe has now evolved into the Pro engine powering Canva's global creative platform. 18 months after Canva acquired Serif, the two companies have officially launched what many in the industry are calling a creative operating system, a single stack that actually fuses pro-grade Affinity tools with Canva's AI-powered collaboration layer, made free for 250 plus million users worldwide. This isn't just a product update, that's pretty clear. It's actually a strategic play that directly challenges Adobe's creative cloud dominance and Figma's collaboration moat, with one platform that controls both the canvas and the distribution layer. Welcome to Front Page, Ashley. We are thrilled to have you with us on this historic launch day.
Well, thanks very much for having me, Sudhi. It's great to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so let's just dive deep into it, Ashley. Can't wait to actually get on with this momentous sort of journey which is going to take off. So the strategic shift aspect is the first thing that actually comes to mind. Canva and Affinity have actually traditionally owned two very different ends of the design spectrum. Canva championing speed, simplicity, and collaboration, and Affinity representing high-fidelity craft for professionals. So basically, with today's launch, those walls have officially collapsed. So how do you see this, Ashley, re-architecture of the creative stack, reshaping how designers, marketers, and enterprises will actually work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, we've kind of got this vision, I guess, and when we very first started talking to Canva, obviously more than 18 months ago before the acquisition, it was very clear that our sort of two platforms were just incredibly complementary of each other. As you say, we've always kind of catered for different kind of ends of the market, and that's what made this sort of partnership so incredibly exciting. And Canva absolutely saw that they, especially as they were getting more into teams and enterprise sort of plays, that there was fundamentally still this need that those types of businesses and what have you really do need to still be able to craft their own assets, and pixel perfect assets that they can then use the Canva platform to share with the rest of the organization. So it's kind of, if you imagine, any kind of company has a big, let's say a design team, who actually kind of design craft the assets that are used for the brand and that type of thing. But then all the rest of the company who aren't skilled designers still need to kind of then consume those assets in things like their docs and their presentations and their, social media graphics and whatever else it might be. So it was really kind of key for us that we kind of catered for that whole workflow. We absolutely see that being really tightly integrated, of course, with Canva's platform just really does revolutionize the kind of the workflow and the process of that. You're not having to kind of export from one app as some graphics to then upload onto Canva. We can provide a much more seamless experience of that with our two platforms heavily integrated.
So actually, the way I understood that was the fact that it is the perfect marriage, is it?
Oh, it's 100% the perfect marriage. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously, actually, in more ways than one, because I think that, yeah, absolutely, that we cater for different parts of the market, and if that is barely anything that our apps compete with each other about, right? It was so from that point of view, totally complementary. But also, actually, and this was really important to us as well. I think that just in terms of our general kind of ethos and approach about how we, I think, treat our customers and really want to kind of make a difference in how kind of creativity is seen. Obviously Canva's mantra has always been empowering the world to design, and that was always very appealing to us and felt really aligned with our values too, because we've always felt that that we've always wanted to make our apps available at very reasonable price and allow as many people as possible to use them. So we were also really aligned with our values as well.
Wonderful. I mean, the fact that at the end of the day, the delightful customer experience is at the forefront is very encouraging to know. And of course, this announcement actually has already been actually dubbed as, quote unquote, the Adobe alternative that finally went full stack, end quote. So free pro tools, AI co-pilots, enterprise governance, all in one surface. How intentional was this move as a direct competitive play against, Creative Cloud and Figma? And also, where do you see this, Ashley, the Canva Affinity wonderful marriage coming together, fitting in this new buyer calculus?
I mean, I think the first thing is there's actually the kind of the competitive play hasn't come into it at all. Genuinely not. I think that this is, as you rightly say, this is actually about putting the customer first. And, we very much listen to obviously the community. Canva, as you know, has got 260 odd million users around the globe, the biggest creative platform in the world. And just from that perspective, there is still a huge, while obviously, our apps kind of deal with different use cases, there's a huge chunk of Canva's existing users who are desperate to, or who already use or would like to use pro tools. But, generally is either, kind of viewed as outside of their sort of price bracket, or those who are using those tools feel that they're being, they're paying too much for those types of things. As well as the fact that obviously, when you use other tools with Canva, there's no way you can make it as integrated as we can now that we're part of the same sort of family. So it was entirely driven by customer demand and what the market wants and what Canva's customers wants and what our customer, and we are really just focused on serving those needs. And we know that if we do that, then, and Canva's proven this with all of their success over the years, if you focus on the customer and deliver what they want, then that delivers great success. And that's what our focus has been. We're not worried about what the competitors are doing, but I mean, we get the comparison. Obviously, everyone's going to say that, but it genuinely isn't what this is about.
Fair enough. I mean, the fact that at the end of the day, which logically then actually brings me to the business model aspect, which is when making Affinity free to Canva's 250 million, monthly users, as you just mentioned, is actually quite a bold business move. So instead of monetizing the pixel, Canva is monetizing the platform, which is inclusive of the teams, the brand systems, asset libraries, and governance. So what's the strategic thinking behind this pricing pivot, and how do you see it accelerating adoption among, let's say, freelancers, studios, and enterprises? Because, that just opens up the plethora as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting, isn't it, that, I mean, I guess number one, obviously Canva's already built an incredibly successful business with this model. Already now, Canva free, really Canva doesn't charge for their tools, right? Yep. Canva charges, as you say, for things like content, for AI processing, for cloud storage. It's the services part of it. And that, again, I think was very much part of Canva's ethos of empowering the world to design and making all these tools free so anyone can create. And for those people who do want some of the additional content or maybe AI or other aspects of the services, then, of course, you can pay for it. And that's proven to be an incredibly successful model. So I guess the question is why wouldn't that be a successful model with Pro Tools as well?
Sure.
I think that perhaps maybe we've been, I don't know, almost just accepting that that's just the way it is with Pro Tools. I mean, it hasn't changed, has it, for 20, 30 years? Even if you go back 30 years, if you went out and bought some sort of professional publishing app or photo editing app, it might not have been subscription, but you were still paying $500, $600, $700 just for a single license. And that, sort of extortionate pricing for these tools has never changed, has it? And I think we're just sort of questioning, why? I think that it's, there's no reason why we can't sort of follow a similar model. But beyond that, again, this is actually just something that we think is really important, that everyone does have access to all the kind of creativity tools that they need. And of course, also, we think that it fundamentally, adding Affinity into the mix of the Canva solution, it obviously overall increases the value of that. And I, certainly imagine, certainly when we're thinking about things like enterprise and business, that having Affinity part of that overall solution, really like a visual communication solution, that is really going to pay dividends for the business. Yeah.
I think, my little takeaway from that was the one term that you used, Ashley, which kind of struck a chord, which is empowering. And I think finally that's what matters, which is empowering the consumer, which is empowering the customer. And I think with this, as you've just elaborately put it across, I think that definitely comes across and will make a difference moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, there's really kind of two things that we're doing that I guess is sort of really against the status quo of what we've been used to for the last 30 years is obviously now going with making these Pro Tools available for free. We've also very much sort of changed the workflow of how these tools work, and again, if we're talking about the history, and if you think about it, again, for the last 30 years, everyone's been used to having a separate app entirely for doing, say, vector and graphic design, a totally different app for doing photo editing, and a different app for doing, desktop publishing and layout. And it's a terrible workflow. It's terrible that they use different file formats. So one app doesn't understand the other one. You often need to use some of the tools in other ones. If you're designing something on a layout and then you want to edit one of the images, you don't want to have to then, go back to a photo editing tool, re-export it and re-import it in. It's a terrible workflow, right? But it's almost become like just accepted, because that's how it's been for 30 years. So obviously that's the other kind of critical element of what we're doing with Affinity is, combining all of those tools for particularly around vector design, photo editing, layout, all seamlessly within one app. That's the other big part of what we're doing. That and the business model we think is, a very revolutionary thing.
Yeah, which makes a huge difference. Completely agree with that, which actually brings me to this thought, which is that this isn't just about design, this particular integration. It's actually also about tying the creative operations to business outcomes. Asset lineage, governance, A/B performance, localization at scale. So how central is this, Ashley, to end-to-end workflow, as you just mentioned, control to Canva's long-term strategy? Do you believe that we are actually entering an era where creative stacks will actually consolidate into one pane of glass and maybe follow the model that you're trying to go ahead and build and construct? Because it makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream, I guess, isn't it? I mean, I think that anyone who sort of would think about what the perfect sort of solution would be would absolutely be to have a kind of a single stack where anything is possible to create from all different skills of people, but it all still uses the same the creative operating system, as you're rightly kind of saying, is sort of now how we're sort of seeing Canva. To have one central area where that's all kind of brought together, that kind of ecosystem or platform, and also be the place where you can then scale everything as well through sharing, collaboration, publishing. It's definitely the right way to go. And of course, you want integrated tools. I think that the interesting aspect, I guess, of our tools is that I think that it's still, our tools are still desktop-based apps.
Sure.
And, while that, but while that's the case, there's still absolutely no reason we can't build really wonderful integrations with the Canva platform, even though obviously Canva's a web-based.
And is that the road forward? Is that what you're looking at?
For the foreseeable future, because I think one of the big things with Affinity that we've always been really focused on is actually being really performant, and that's also something that we feel just makes creativity like joyous when you're using an app. Is that if you're if you're brushing with a paintbrush, or you're applying an effect, or you're even manipulating vectors, that you're getting a live preview as you do it, and that makes it feel like really, I don't know, sort of tangible and something that you kind of enjoy to do. Now that requires a lot of oomph, shall we say, and power that is actually on your device, because we take advantage very much of all the latest chipsets. I mean, it's a big focus of ours. Whenever Apple or Qualcomm or whoever launch a new chip, we are the first to make sure we're fully optimized for the latest GPU, CPUs, more recently, kind of ML cores for machine learning processing.
Very interesting.
I think we're still quite a way away from actually being able to achieve, for it to actually be possible to achieve the level of performance we do, especially when you think about, potentially some files that you could be working on in Affinity could be hundreds and hundreds of megabytes and or even a couple of gigabytes, and so it's just far more efficient and fast, and you can get much better performance working on desktop with a desktop app than you can at the moment with a browser-based app. Now, that's not to say that in however many years' time, the technology advances, and we can achieve that level of performance in browser, but we will never ever compromise our performance just to try to get our apps. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Obviously the technology in browsers is improving, and it does give us, there is more ability to be able to, tap in fully to the power of the computers that are running it. But I think it's still a way off for us.
Fair enough. One of the biggest concerns, Ashley, for Affinity's loyal community has been, will Canva compromise on pro fidelity? And you've emphasized that Affinity will retain ICC profiles, vector precision, print integrity, typography control, and offline workflows. So how are you ensuring that the craft remains non-negotiable, even as Canva scales collaboration and, of course, the factor as well?
Probably because I'm going to say it's non-negotiable.
Fair enough.
I mean, fair enough. Look, we are 100% aligned, in terms of myself, Cliff and Mel and Cam, as a leadership group, and just generally, I think across the organisation, that there is no way, this was never about a possibility where either platform, let's say our platform kind of seeps into some level of mediocrity of trying to make it easier and or more template driven. That's actually that decreases the differentiation between the platforms and why they make so much sense to be together. So 100% Affinity is always going to be entirely focused on that pro workflow with all of those advanced pieces of functionality that such as that you mentioned, and that will never change.
Well, to be honest, Ashley, what you just said, I'll be very, very clear about that. Then it genuinely won't remain a perfect marriage. Isn't that true? I mean, if there is any compromise on anything as far as that is concerned.
That's right. We need to still continue and be very steadfast in playing to our strengths, and that's why it works. We'll never compromise on that.
Wonderful to hear that. So let me actually go ahead and bring out, maybe the crystal ball, Ashley, and you can maybe do that as well. If we look ahead, maybe the next 3 to 5 years, this launch feels like, a line in the sand moment, collapsing, creation, collaboration, governance, and go-to-market into a single operating system. Do you see Canva and Affinity, Ashley, becoming, the default creative layer for enterprises? Or do you expect the ecosystem to, stay fragmented across multiple players? And what does your ideal roadmap look like for, pro designers, agencies, and marketing teams in this new imagination era?
Yeah, so, I mean, of course, we would absolutely like to see the Canva platform to become the standard in business and enterprise, as you say. And as we sort of spoke about earlier, having Affinity being part of that solution, I think, does absolutely make our offering in those markets, really, really compelling. Because again, it's not like we're now starting to charge a lot more money for our enterprise licenses. Sure. Affinity is now just like almost this additional benefit, and a really big benefit that everyone's going to get. So, and as we continue to build these really quite slick integrations, and we're only scratching the surface, I think, at the moment in terms of how we can really get our platforms working really tightly together. Then there's no reason why we can't make it just the de facto standard. But of course, that's down to us. I mean, in the sense that it's down to making sure that we're, again, focused on the customer, focused on what they want, building the solutions that they need, and making sure that we're leading the way. So, I think as long as we continue to do that, then there's no reason. In terms of roadmap, there's got to stay a little bit tight-lipped on this, but I mean, there's a few things that I can tell you.
It's my job, Ashley. It's my job to try to make it try to get as much as I could. I'm still going to keep trying.
So we have a few elements of our roadmap in terms of the kind of the core Affinity app. So what we're kind of announcing in terms of this new app is that it's just going to be the Mac and Windows version. I say just, obviously that's a massive thing in itself. But with the sort of V2, the previous Affinity apps, we do also have iPad versions as well. So we are actively working on an iPad version for the new Affinity that we hope to launch next year. And we're also probably one of the more interesting things is with the new Affinity is to sort of add full scripting support. Again, we're quite a way on with that at the moment, so I don't mind sharing that with you. But again, that will really help facilitate actually a lot of more automated workflows. And again, that a lot of people kind of do with other products in the kind of the enterprise environment. So us making our apps scriptable is a pretty important thing. And as obviously we've already spoken about, I think that we're just currently scratching the surface with integrations with Canva, and we really want to make that just a much more complete solution, which we'll be working very hard at, and there's going to be updates coming out really regularly to keep sort of delivering on that.
All right, since we are of course talking about a roadmap, and I'm sure a very, very important destination on that roadmap, Ashley, I have to say this is India, right? So how this collaboration, do you believe, affects India?
Well, I think, India, from a Canva perspective, India is one of its largest markets.
Yes.
I think we've the fourth largest market for Canva. Nearly 3 billion designs created in India on the Canva platform. It's absolutely huge. It's interesting for Affinity. Our biggest markets have still and continue to be the US, Germany, UK, and the rest of Europe. But while India has been a relatively small market for us, it's absolutely our fastest growing market, actually, interestingly. But we see this as being super exciting, specifically in India, because it's such a big market for Canva, and actually being a relatively small one for Affinity. And now we just see that kind of, obviously Canva being so, big in India is really going to just make so many more people in India, start adopting the Affinity apps. And I think that's like really, really, really exciting.
Of course, you know what, Ashley, I have to say this. India definitely has an Affinity.
That's good to hear.
All right, Ashley, final messages that what I could understand from this wonderful conversation that you and I have had, that the user, that the customer is always at the forefront. And this wonderful partnership brings that idea together, actually furthers that thought. I would like for you to maybe give a final message to all of your users, potential, and the people who are genuinely going to enjoy this wonderful little canvas and this integration of two forces coming together.
Just that we're always, as we've been saying during this interview, we're always going to put you first. We're always going to deliver on the tools that you ask for. We're always going to respond to the wishes that you give us for the apps. And we hope you put your faith in us. And I'm sure that you're going to really enjoy using all of our apps and the whole platform together.
Wonderful. Well, Ashley, again, a big congratulations on this momentous day. Wishing you, your team, and everyone all the best, and so many more milestones to achieve. I believe this is just the start, and it is going to be wonderfully brilliant, wonderful Canva to paint on, I guess.
Well, thanks very much. It's been great talking to you. Yeah, and thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Finally, Canva just collapsed creation, collaboration, governance, and go-to-market into a single surface and made desktop-grade craftsmanship the on-ramp, not the exception. If you're a studio, you get enterprise reach without losing control. If you're an enterprise, you get pro quality without losing speed. And if you're a student or solo creator, you just got a free seat at the pro table. Please do let us know how this new development makes you feel by dropping comments below.